I'm joined here today by Naidu at InfoComm India from Resurgent to talk about the Indian AV market, especially world of experience centers. But to get started, tell me a bit about Resurgent as a business, because you've been active in this market for quite a while, right?
Yes, Riz. Thank you for having me here. Yeah. Resurgent is based out of Bangalore. We are headquartered in Bangalore and we got incepted in 2009. And from there on, the industry has seen a lot of changes. It has grown up heavily. And we see a good market for AV growing year on year. And being in a system integration company, we have seen so many changes. And definitely the scenario has changed a lot for the positive part of it. And yes, the market is growing.
There is a lot of change happening in the market, a lot of adoption of new technologies and things that are changing very rapidly. One area that I've seen a lot of expansion in India is experience centers. Can you tell me a bit about the demand in that market and the sort of technologies that are doing well there?
Definitely. Today, if you see most of the customers, they are wanting their clients, their own clients, to experience what they are offering. So these scenarios are typically done in terms of a walkthrough, in terms of the storytelling. How do you bring your own client to understand what the offerings are? So the customer experience interfaces, the usability labs, and the way the customer can make their own customers experience the entire AV is growing tremendously. And these are some of the areas where things are pretty good. And you have got good technology which is coming in visual displays, in terms of how the audio is being handled, in terms of how the streaming is being done, in terms of how the content is being generated and all. And then the customer is creatively putting it together so that their clients get to see what is the new technology in AV and all. So these spaces are definitely growing now.
Yeah, and I think that coincides with a change in patterns, really, because there's a demand for higher quality now. It's an expectation. You know, if you're bringing people to be impressed, it's got to be an impressive quality, right?
Definitely,
that's no longer optional.
Yes, because everything is being spoken about. Until unless you see it, you can't believe it. So the customers are trying to bring them to their own facilities, and they are trying to ensure that the client sees what the offering is. So until unless the AV scales it up and they bring it in terms of the technology, in terms of the displays, in terms of the audio, in terms of how the microphone pickups are there, in terms of the experience which can be given to the customer. Definitely that's the space which is growing. And apart from the experience centers, there is usability labs where the customers are bringing people to experience and see how the labs are being used. These are some of the areas which is growing. The collaboration space where the UC applications are growing, these are some of the areas which is tremendously growing now.
Of course, but I do think that one of the challenges we're facing, not just in India but globally, is the price of real estate, frankly. End users now are having to be very cautious and very considerate of the real estate they have and how they use that real estate. It's about flexibility, right? We're seeing multi-purpose spaces come to the fore, and I think India has been a big pioneer in that space, and that trend is now making its way to Europe. What's been your experience in that field? Is that a trend that you're seeing?
Yes, you are absolutely right, Rice, in calling that part. Today, if you see, real estate has become very scarce. Everybody wants to utilize in a way that it's not a meeting room, it's not an open collapse space, if it's not something which they can utilize it for one particular purpose. So the room itself or the space itself is getting defined with multi-purpose activities. You got town hall scenarios, you got spaces which is having different functionalities altogether. It is not only say meetings or presentations. They can turn out the space for every other activity. That's how the town hall spaces are getting utilized. That's how the collaboration spaces are getting utilized. And today the customer is also trying to say that everybody who is a part of an employee, you cannot occupy each meeting rooms. So they are having flexible spaces where they can be utilized for every purpose which is required for, including collaboration spaces, including interactions, including presentations, giving them a proper experience. So yes, these are some of the spaces which customers definitely wants to utilize, and that's what's going to the customers now.
Definitely, and from an integration point of view as well, when you are working in a multi-purpose space, there are so many more considerations that have to be taken into account, be it from acoustics or placement of screens or how rooms can be adapted to fit certain purposes. How do you approach that from a design point of view?
Of course, design perspective is very important in terms of how we can approach this particular requirement. So each client has got their own specific requirements placed out. So while we are talking about a floor layout and we plan it out in a way that the proper walkthrough can be given, what spaces are defined in terms of the experience part of it. Today you have got a mundane activity of day-to-day meetings and other things, but when it comes to something very unique space, an experience center, it's all like you need to have a storyboard. You need to have a scenario where you bring in the customers and make them experience both in terms of the screen placements, how the visual content can be caught up, how they see it, what is the exact proportions in terms of the expected requirements which comes out from the client perspectives. The audio part of it, the microphone pickups, whether the mics are picking up, the speaker placements, how the audio is being generated and all. Of course, these are all part of the design which goes into in terms of preparation of the entire requirement which is given to the client. And it definitely plays a very important part because once the design is incorporated, the end results are pretty much fixed. And that's what generates a good experience for the customer. So you have to have a good design in place, and that will create a better outcome in terms of the handover and in terms of the end results.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think India itself is uniquely positioned in the audiovisual market. There's a growing trend now of manufacturers who are producing their equipment in India, and I think India is also uniquely positioned in terms of verticals and growth as well. How do you see the future of the Indian market evolving, and what is the part that Resurgent is going to play in that?
Maurice, that's a fantastic question. So India being the fourth largest economy in the world now, and many of the OEMs who have been putting their efforts to make in India products. So you see a lot of OEMs moving towards that. The best part is that it's always a good question when somebody asks, when I'm importing something, how do I sustain it? How do I give the support for the end client? How do I reduce my downtime? So these are some things which definitely makes a much better platform when you have something which is getting manufactured here in India. And you have a better RMAs, you have a better support system in place. Customers are also getting something which is priced well because it's manufactured in India, and you also have a better lead time in terms of deliveries. So these are some of the things which definitely will ensure that the market acceptance is much more faster for anything which is being made in India or manufactured in India. Yes,
absolutely. There's a lot of opportunity here in the region, not just for manufacturers, but integrators like yourselves that will
yes.
seize it. Naidu, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Reese. It's a pleasure. Thank you.